Ring you Irene Arcus, all right? Let's see what happens. Yes, hello, it's Shazad Hussain here.
Good morning, Mr. Hussain. How are you?
I'm okay, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yes, well, I was hoping to contact you earlier on the week. I did try ringing one day, but you didn't answer, so I thought I'll quickly have a chat with you regarding the outstanding issues.
Right, yes. Obviously, I haven't rang you because I haven't got any more information. I'm in the way to a meeting, so it needs to be really quick. And I'm sorry, sometimes I'm not available when you ring, but as I say, I'm in and out of meetings. Very quickly, just to let you know, I have spoken to my colleagues in legal. They've acknowledged there's been a delay and they apologize for that. But as you can understand, legal gets needs to prioritize some of the work they do because they've got legal cases, they've got court cases, etc., etc. So they are doing it, and I'm hoping, and the conversation was that we might be able to have it resolved very quickly.
Like I said, I don't want to take too much of your time up, but ultimately there has to be a reasonable amount of time. Now, the word reasonable amount is not something that is not subjective between yourself or what I think is reasonable. It's something that's actually, in law. Because if I make a subject access request, what the law has defined as a month is a reasonable amount of time. And this situation, as you can appreciate, it's not a low priority because ultimately it's affecting the service provision of the council. It's preventing us from having further communication. It's preventing me from reaching out to people or speaking to the council staff members. It's preventing council staff members coming in and providing services, particularly to my mum, because obviously. We all don't know where we stand, and the situation is, I think, very clear, black and white. There's no disputing the situation. So that's the first point. It's very, it's not a complicated problem. It doesn't take too much time, and it's something that I have openly given information to. Number one, and number two, with regards to the legal department being busy with other things. Yes, one of the things that they're quite busy doing is prosecuting me for other issues that are irrelevant and are acting maliciously and orchestrating events and doing all these other things where they're refusing to answer a very simple question. So I don't think that's acceptable because it's been like 4 months.
I understand your frustration, Mr. Hussain, and we had this conversation before, so I know where you're coming from.
Yes, we had this conversation. I'm sorry to interject, miss, but we had this frustration was back in October. And I was saying that it's October, November time that I was saying this is not acceptable, and now we're 3 months further down the line, and and the last time we spoke was that somebody's on holiday, and I think I sent an email saying, well, it doesn't matter, people go on holiday, people go on maternity leave, that is not really a reason, and ultimately why I feel the local authority, particularly the legal department, are deliberately dragging their feet is because they don't want to do something that they know that they are obliged to do something, and therefore continuing to put me on a position of hold. So it's not a case of where Mr. Hussain, things are just being delayed. This is a deliberate and malicious act of neglect or being neglectful when they know they should look to resolve this.
Can I respond to your points quickly?
Yes.
Just very quickly. In terms of the time, as I said, I acknowledge that you're absolutely right. You asked the question in October, and there is and it's been a delay, and I really apologize for that. But yes, there are priorities, and it doesn't mean that this is not an important matter. It is an important matter because it affects officers as well. So nobody is dismissing this as not important. However, when you've got a court case to attend, this obviously takes precedence, and it takes precedence. So I'm sorry about that, and any way, shape, or form means that this is not an important matter. It means that other matters that are more important, which is not the same. In terms of affecting you, yes, it is making it a bit more complicated, but it's not affecting the services
It is.
No, I've been talking to you all the time. I've never refused to talk to you, and I'm one of the points of contact for the council. So in that sense, we have not had no communication.
Okay.
Issue.
All right. Well, let me just elaborate here. You're the only person within the council that is been designated or allocated to speak to me. Okay, nobody else and is willing to speak to me, and you're right. But that is, but speaking to yourself, as you can appreciate, you're the complaints handler, complaints manager, and you and I, we have a very cordial relationship. You've never been discourteous to me, and I don't believe I've been discourteous to you. So we, on a personal level, have a good communication, and but the reality is that we're not. I'm not. When I say our services are being affected, it's the situation where my mum, since late October, November. Well, since November, she's not received any support. All right. And we're not in a position to take on any support until we have this issue resolved with. So that's one point where services is being affected, where a vulnerable person who is entitled to support provisions is not in a position to take on the support services, which she's entitled to. Now, this is having an adverse effect on my family because obviously myself are having to provide the support services in the absence of the local authority who are providing the support services, simply because this question's not been answered. That's the first one. The second one is that primarily with yourself, I can only lodge complaints with yourself, and you within your position can look to resolve those complaints. But there are other aspects, particularly the Data Protection Act and the Freedom of Information Act, which is governed by your colleagues Mark St. Romain and Danny Mystery, who are refusing to engage with me. But more importantly than that, and so those are issues that still are on a hold, and I don't have any clarity to, and no reply has been given to me even in email. But more importantly, I believe at this stage I would like to speak to the chief executive, because there are just so many outstanding issues that need to be resolved, and by leaving things on the slow burner is having a devastating effect on me and my family.
In terms of my collection information government thing, obviously I can't respond on their behalf, but my understanding is that they were going to send you a letter explaining what the situation is. That's as far as I know. Obviously, I don't know the context, and I don't have a copy of that letter, so I'm not sure how far we are. But you will receive something.
But no, I'm sorry. But just getting something in writing is irrelevant. They need to respond to my information requests, or then which are legitimate. Simply classifying somebody as vexatious and not looking to answer those questions is simply not even answering the phone call. They could, just like yourself, I appreciate you don't have much time today, but simply looking to answer a phone call, they don't want to do that, because unlike yourself, they understand that all my calls are recorded, and they don't consent to speaking to me. Well, that is an issue. This is one of the issues. You see, they are not willing to talk to me on the telephone or meet with me simply because of this outstanding issue regarding the legality of my right to record. And so this is obviously compromising their job. It's compromising clearly. If, as you can appreciate, what is the council's position on care staff coming to my house and me recording them and putting those recordings onto YouTube?
Well, that's what I think, Mr. Hussein. You say that we or the legal department is dragging their feet on purpose. Well, it's not. That's not the case, because obviously it's affecting officers as well.
Yes.
So it's not in anybody's interest to prolong the situation.
But
that's
But I'm sorry to interject again.
You understand that?
But it is in somebody's interest to prolong the situation, because as it presently stands, and this is the same conversation we had back in October, November, it's not in your interest. But clearly it is in your financial interest, because as it stands from November onwards, the local authority have not been providing my mother with any care. All right. And they've not been providing with any care, because I had to self-suspend support services until, as you can appreciate, if I am recording people, staff members, while they're coming onto my site, onto my property, and I'm putting that onto YouTube, and I'm doing something illegal, then clearly I don't want to do that. I don't want to be doing something unlawful or illegal. but I've made it quite clear to the trust that that's what I'll be doing, and they are then having to send somebody to my house, and I'm recording those individuals, and I'm then putting it onto YouTube without their permission. That is a very grey area that opens me up to doing something unlawful. So therefore, I have had to self-suspend support services for my mum, because I don't want to find myself in a situation that's doing something illegal. Because also, when somebody comes onto my property, I have systems in place that automatically record people and put it onto the cloud. Now, I need to understand clearly where I stand within my rights, so I'm not doing something unlawful. By the local authority dragging their feet, not only are they looking to expose staff members to risk, but they're putting me at risk, because I have systems in place that automatically record people, unrecognized people coming to my house and putting it onto the cloud.
Right, I understand, Mr. Hussain. But there are two issues there. One, the local authority is not refusing to provide services to your mom. That's your decision. And if that's the case, as I said, I don't know the details. But if that's the case, it's not the local authority.
No, well, I'm sorry, but it's your
decision.
It's not my decisions. Go ahead.
In terms of the legalities, all what I'm expecting and waiting for our legal department is the advice to staff about what to do in terms of phone calls or being recorded. The legal department, the council, does not provide legal advice to customers. So in that case, we can provide legal advice about what you can or you cannot do. All we can do is to provide legal advice to the officers to say, this is what you can or you cannot do when someone is recording your call.
And that's all I'm asking. I'm not asking for legal advice, because I know
You want legal advice, then you need to go.
I'm sorry. I did not ask for legal advice.
But you said that you don't know what your legal position is.
I don't understand my legal position in the context of because the local authority don't know what their legal position is.
That's what I mean, but the delay shouldn't be stopping you.
No, but the delay is stopping me, because if for example, if your staff members are coming onto my property and I'm recording them and putting them onto YouTube, the local authority can then say, well, what you're doing is unlawful and we're going to prosecute you. Yes? So this is the reason that opens me up to a risk, because you're not clearly identifying that, Mr. Hussain, this is our position, and therefore that gives me an avenue to move forward. Because you're uncertain about your position, I'm very clear about my position. Anybody comes to my house, I'm going to record them and I'm going to put it onto YouTube. Right? That's my position.
But there you are, so it's not being affected by what the local authority thinks the position of the officers is.
Yes, well, irrespective, like I said, the officers then need to be made aware. But like I said, because of this, you can appreciate, Ms. Arcus, that because of one uncertainty, it has a ripple effect. And that ripple effect then obviously has an effect where I don't want to be exposing myself or my family to any risk. And therefore, we cannot take services because of this uncertainty. Your position is that, well, it doesn't affect you, and you've self-suspended. We've been forced to self-suspend under duress because of the effect of not having an answer to something. You can understand that if you ask me a question and I say I'll get back to you, and I don't get back to you for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, you're still on hold. It's a bit like when somebody calls a call center up and they put you on hold. There's a reasonable amount of time. If you're put on hold for 24 hours, then obviously you're forced to put the phone down. And then the other person say, well, we did put you on hold and you yourself decided to put the phone down. Well, we only did it because you were acting unreasonably. Similarly, if services have stopped or we've had to stop them, it's because a risk has been created. And to minimize that risk, we've had to suspend the services.
Well, obviously, Mr. Hussain, we have different approaches and we have to agree to disagree.
Would you like to continue to expose us to risk?
Mr. Hussain, I don't think so, because we are not, as I said, we disagree on this.
Okay, Miss Arcus, we don't, like I said, we can personally disagree on this, but the reality is that I always view things, and I'm open and transparent. I view things as risks. Now, if staff members are coming into my house, is it lawful? Right? If we've not agreed to this, if we've said that this is affecting our human rights to privacy, if we've said that what the services that are coming in are designed to come in for 6 to 8 weeks, and it's a year later, and those people are still coming in. It's affecting our life when you are operating because the local authority don't care about risks. They don't care about longevity. All they care about is saving money. And sometimes saving money exposes other people to risk by failing to pay up for safety procedures, such as the Grenfell Tower disaster has clearly indicated that because of cost savings, it's resulted in a building burning down. Similarly, the local authority operate in a legal vacuum where they look to save money, and sometimes you have to spend money for safety reasons. And so similarly, by the local authority not looking to address this issue, is exposing me and my family to risk, which I'm looking to minimize.
I'm hearing, yes.
Yeah, okay, all right. So that's the only thing I'd like to say is that this issue is not a priority. If it was putting human life at risk, which it now clearly is, it's because of the local authority need to, or the legal department just need to get on with this, because they are dragging their feet, and by dragging their feet, they're saving money, because care support services are not going in place. So it's affecting me on my side. It's also affecting you on your side because of staff members not looking to engage me, knowing the fact that their own rights may be at risk. Okay, not a problem. So when can I expect to hear something? So we need a resolution on this.
Well, as I said, I spoke to my colleagues in
Who did you speak to?
To Parveen Aktar directly.
Okay, maybe I should speak to Parveen Aktar directly.
Will not speak to you because that's what I'm saying. Well, the legal department cannot provide legal.
Okay, but if she can't speak to me, and with all due respect, and I have the greatest respect for you personally as an individual, I think at this stage I would like to speak to the Chief Executive, Kersten England. Why will it not happen? Is she not? How much does she get paid? And is it not her responsibility to?
It's about paying, it's about roles. She will not get involved in complaints because.
No, it's not a complaint. I'm sorry. This is not just simply a complaints matter. Pardon?
You are complaining. You are not happy about something.
I'm not happy about I'm not happy about the services that she administers. Yes, okay, but I mean, the reality is that this is not a straightforward complaint that you can potentially deal with. It's something that she, as the chief executive, that she's basically the head of the household. Mm-hmm. Yes, you are just working for the chief executive's office. Is that correct?
I am actually. She's my director. This is my direct line manager in that sense. I've got a line manager in between both.
Yes.
Both her departments.
Yes. Everything that you do, you're not accountable to it for yourself. You are accountable to the chief executive.
That's right.
She's the head of the house.
Exactly.
She's the boss. Mm-hmm. Okay. So therefore, there are numerous failings in her services delivery. She's ultimately accountable, because if I have to take legal action against a local authority, it's her that I will be taking action against, not you. No. I'm not talking about taking legal action, but ultimately I'm trying to identify who the ultimate decision maker is.
Well, you responded to your question.
Yes, and that's right. The ultimate decision maker is Kersten England. So if she's making decisions that are exposing me and my family to risk, if she is approving policies and procedures that are exposing members of the residents to risk, and this is the reason I mentioned her money, is because those residents, the people of Bradford, are ultimately responsible for her paycheck.
Exactly.
Yes, and so therefore I believe that this is a far more complicated situation than simply having a straightforward complaints handler to deal with. Well, like I said, I'm not every resident.
No, but everybody who was not happy in Bradford.
But I understand. Look. Like I said, at this stage, I understand if everybody was not happy in Bradford, but our situation is highly complex. I am the only individual in Bradford that the local authority has personally prosecuted to the tune of over £500,000. Okay, I'm the only resident in Bradford that they've done this to. I'm the only resident in Bradford that has an active communication with all the councillors. All right, and the situation is highly complex. If it was a normal policy procedure that can be drafted, then Kersten England is quite right to create a policy or a procedure as a complaints process that can be easily dealt with. That's the most efficient way of dealing things rather than dealing things yourself. So you can allocate that to a complaints department, have a policy and procedure in place, and end of story. What does she do if she's sitting in the background making decisions and not looking to hold herself accountable to the public?
Mr. Hussain, we are starting a completely different debate about the chief executive, which I am not prepared to have.
Okay, that's fair enough. Like I said, I'm not looking to debate with you. I'm looking to engage the chief executive. I've wrote to her directly, and if you can just relay that message to me, and we can end this conversation today.
I will pass a message that says this is not policy for the chief.
But who creates the policies?
Mr. Hussain, you might disagree with it, but that's the process.
No, but who creates the policies and procedures?
Well, we're going to start on a debate.
No, well, I mean, obviously, Ms. Arcus, you're trying to basically make me run around in circles, and I'm not the type of guy that will run around in circles. Policies and procedures are created by the corporation, and she's the head of the corporation, and there are always exceptional circumstances. And I believe my particular circumstances are exceptional and justified in order for me to have direct contact with the decision maker, because the decision maker is ultimately looking to prosecute me and has prosecuted me in the past, and yet at the same time is now, I believe, hiding behind her policies and procedures, her departments, and putting yourself forward, where our relationship can ultimately end up as being antagonistic when it shouldn't be, because we have a mutual respect for each other. But the reality is that you are in a position, are acting as a proxy agent for Kersten England, who's refusing to engage me directly.
If there are processes ongoing at the moment, let's say prosecution, etc., which I said I don't know any details about, then is it more reason for her not to engage directly with you, because that might prejudice some of the process?
Well, but that's not presently the case, because the local authority have prosecuted me as much as they can, and ultimately the liability still remains that there are two vulnerable people that are in my care, that the local authority is still accountable. Like I said, Ms. Arcus, we don't need to be having this. We don't need to continue to have hypothetical discussions at this stage. I feel justified that I can have a direct communication with the chief executive, because ultimately, Ms. Arcus, you know me by now. I'm a very belligerent individual. I'm not the type of person that just says, okay, fair enough, I'll just walk away. You know my character. It's not in my character to simply walk away.
I know, but
I'm just gonna, if I don't have direct communication with her, I'll have to go through every single counsellor again, and I will continue to go, and I will continue to push the envelope forward and forward, and I don't want to do that. That exposes other people to risk. I'm not in a position to if I'm looking to defend my own family members' rights, I'm not looking to expose other people to risk. I don't want to expose you to any risk. I don't want you to do anything you're not feeling fully comfortable with. But equally, I have to respect. I have to act on behalf of my vulnerable family members. And therefore, I think the idea of simply ignoring me, I keep on saying this is not an option. I'm not. What do you expect me to do? Put yourself in my position. Right now, my family are suffering, and I'm the most vocal person that my family have. Am I supposed to just sit back and wait?
well, I don't know, but as I said, the decision not to have the services is not one that the council is made.
No. The decisions are all that the council has made. These are all decisions being made by the council, because ultimately the decisions are motivated by greed and by money saving. And that's what the motivation is. You and I understand, Ms. Arcus, that even in the papers that the local authority are going through a resource deficit, which means that they don't have enough money, and these are decisions being made out of cutbacks. But more particularly in my particular case, is motivated by malice. But like I said, why can't I just simply have a direct discussion with Miss England and come to some sort of resolution, rather than her hiding behind corporate processes and asking me to wait and jump through hoops?
Because that's the way it works, and you might not like it, but
Well, no, it doesn't. It works like that. But this is the way it works for me. All right, I don't care if that's the way it works. Miss Arcus, I keep on saying this. The world works according to how people want it to work. If that's the way you want it to work, because it protects you and minimizes your risk. But this is how the world works. So you may not like the fact that I'm recording this conversation, but tough. Do you understand? And your colleagues may not like the fact that I'm recording them and putting it on the internet, and they may believe that it's unlawful, but so what? That's the way the world works. How come the world works according to what you say it is? Why does not the world work according to what I want?
So in that case, if you are putting it in YouTube, as you say, why are you saying that you're waiting for the legal advice?
No, we're not working for the legal advice. I know my rights. I want you to acknowledge my rights. That's all I'm looking to do. That's why I've said update your constitution, because that will be in a recognition of my rights.
It's not causing any debate then in the services that your family is receiving.
It does cause this because you're not acknowledging my rights. I have a right. I'm expressing that right, and you're looking to disregard my right. This is why. Look what the resolution I'm asking for. I'm not asking for any financial remuneration or cost implications. All I'm asking you to do is recognize my right to record and change your constitution in recognition. That's all I'm asking.
That's what being considered.
Yes. So that's all I'm asking. Try to understand my motivation is in regards to expressing my right and having my right recognized. By your failure to respond, you're not recognizing my right, and by not recognizing my right, you're exposing me and my family to risk. That's ultimately what I'm trying to say.
I understand, Mr. Spain. I am now officially late to my next meeting.
Okay, I do apologize for holding you up. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, we look to end the call now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.